Cubs traded their first-round pick from last year to the Astros, along with all-star Isaac Paredes for superstar Justin Turner on a one-year deal, right? No one thought that Smith, who had a monster spring training, was going to make the team. We're going to talk about that. Niran joins us, and we're going to get into the Cubs' start to the schedule and some of their other draft picks and what they've done or haven't done. All that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, and get in the comments section. We love it when you guys agree and even when you disagree. Let's get this party started. Thanks, everybody. Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball channel. And again, thank you for being here as we talk about the Cubs. Now, I got to say this right out of the chute. I'm really happy for Cam Smith. I saw him play a lot of baseball last year, and the way that the Astros announced that he was going to be on the big league roster was very cool. They brought the manager brought their family in, his family in. You know, hey, normally you call mom and dad. His whole family comes in. That's how he found out that he was going to be on the big league roster. The guy was at Florida State last year, and the Cubs drafted him with the 14th overall pick. And by the time that the season ended, he was already in Double-A. And when the Cubs made the trade for Turner, he was involved. And this spring, he's been a monster, 6 home runs in 15 games. Last year at the Single-A level, obviously, I saw him at the Double-A level where he was also an excellent player, hits a lot of line drives, and then when he gets the ball in the air, he's got a lot of power. But it was this spring that gave, I guess, the Astros an idea that, hey, this is a guy that we need on the roster. So now you're looking at, are we going to glance back at this trade, right? 342 batting average, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, 15 games, and now he is officially a Houston Astro. I know for the Astros, you know, it makes this trade look pretty good because I'm sure their fans are a little cranky about some of the guys that they've lost this year, including their star player in Tucker and then, you know, Bregman and, you know, whatever. But they still have a lot of great players left. But it was the clubhouse on this team, according to a Chandler Rome story for Houston, that was like, hey, we really respect this guy. And when the big leaguers start doing that, not only do you get the manager, but you get the star players, and they're saying, hey, man, this guy might hit 60 home runs. That's where you're going to make the team. And then on the other hand, for the Cubs, with really no depth at third base, you traded 2 third basemen to the Astros to basically get a 1-year rental. Are they going to look back on this deal and regret it? And I put on a video a couple of days ago before I bring in Niran, the the Lou Brock trade. And some of you guys were like, hold up. I'm just saying, man. I mean, come on. You got to feel this a little bit. Like, you're like, did we just do this? And that's where I want to bring in there. And I'll be wearing my winter layers, but the start of baseball season means spring is upon us. I've teamed up with DraftKings to bring the excitement to my fellow fans of one of America's most beloved games. Right now, they are offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5. Download the DraftKings app now and sign up using our code CBC. Cubs Baseball Channel, CBC. The crown is yours. Stay in on all the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at even bigger payouts. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Pick 6 and have a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use our promo code CBC and bet just $5 on any wager and get 200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code CBC only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And that's where I want to bring in Niran and welcome him to the show. Niran Desai, good to see you, my friend. This is like the Bleacher Crew part of the show, and he's in Chicago, big time Cubs fan, and one of the best on the message board, very knowledgeable, and obviously a friend of the show. So, all right, there you go. Cubs traded a lot of guys, not just those two, Niran. They also sold Bellinger to the Yankees for Cody Poteet. So the Cubs, and then they traded those guys to get at the deadline last year, Paredes, and so this becomes like, for a 1-year guy, a lot. So tell me why not to worry on this. And hold on, let's start over. Now say, what's up, man? Go ahead, fire away.
You just got to go from the GM perspective. You know, they're playing Russian roulette over there, trying to make this work, right? They have a budget, a fake budget, a real budget, a public budget, a private budget, and they're really big. If you look at these front offices now, it's all about risk management and hedging, right? And Cody, like, I told you, I'm always telling you, I'm like going through the splits, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that in Fangraphs. Cody had a lot of risk. What if he got hurt? Then you're stuck with his money for the year after. And then it came out that like they had to get approval from the Ricketts family to pay for his contract last year. So they did have a budget, right? They went over budget last year. Now they're more in line with budget this year. So this is a game of arbitrage. Jed's trying to get that extension. He's trying to keep the band together, like that whole front office crew, not just him, right? It's a lot of other people that are trying to get a few more years to see this master plan through. And I just think that there's a lot of spin going on in Houston, right? I mean, yeah, Cam Smith, great talent. He's had a great spring training. He's got a lot of pedigree, but a lot of prospects make it. They got to stay. They got to stay in the big show.
Great point. Yeah.
So you look at like Jordan Walker, and you look at a lot of these like prospects, some of these top 10 prospects. If you go through top 10 prospects, you just shouldn't look at this year's. You should look at the ones from 3 years ago and look at that list and see
that hug, though, man. Look at that hug. That is an embrace.
I watched the video today. I got a little teary-eyed. I got a little verklempt. If you know what that means, you grew up in the 90s. You're Gen Xer. But yeah, I mean, it was a great moment, and it was really cool. And I just think, and then he's a right fielder now. I mean, it's hard to go back to third base, right? And that's the thing. The value goes down. If you're a right-handed outfielder, there's a lot of right-handed outfielders, right? Those are the people that get non-tendered. So I do think it's great. I do think you have to look at it from Jed's perspective. He's got to get this extension. Kyle Tucker's an impact bat. Cody could have, got an oblique, hurt himself, ran into a wall. You're stuck with that money for the following year. Then you have a bigger problem for their payroll. So I understand why he did it. I understand why he took the risk. And it's also a message to ownership. Hey, if you don't let me spend on a 10-year deal with $350 million, I got to do this, right? He's got control of the roster, and he made this kind of gamble, I think, to make a point. And I think it's worth the risk because he has to win the Central. He has to win the Central pretty easily. Like, I'm seeing some predictions on like 88, 87 wins, 89 wins, and that'll be enough to win the Central. I would not give Jed an extension if he won 87 games. Pretty much with a payroll significantly above the rest of the division. That's crazy, right? This should be a really good team. He should be adding on, and they should be, building the team after the deadline or towards the deadline to win a playoff series. They should be able to match up, right? And matching up in a playoff series is a lot different than winning the marathon.
Right. But I mean, think about this though. I mean, Tucker at best has an MVP season on a 1-year contract with the Cubs. Then you got to go out, and they're talking about him potentially pulling in Juan Soto type of money. Now, I don't know if he's going to do that. He's going to have a Juan Soto type of year. And if he does, it's a little easier to swallow. What was the guy's name? That the Cubs got back for Lou Brock?
Broglio.
Brolio. Like I'm that you don't
That's
feel
before my
like
time, but yeah, I know that
right.
trade.
Yeah, right. Like it's like, look, if the Baltimore had 1 year of Reggie Jackson, people don't even remember it, right? It was in between his A's and his Yankees days, you
I mean,
know.
the Sox traded Sammy Sosa for George Bell. That was the worst trade ever in the city.
Right. So I mean, you know, I don't even want to say it happens, but you trading your first round pick from the year before in a deal for a 1 year rental, that guy has to have an absolute monster season. And I've said it on this channel a lot. And that's that I smell desperation with some of these moves because long term, you don't give your first round pickup for a rental player, you know. But if you're trying to save your ass, you do it because you're like, hey, if I don't, they're going to fire me anyway. And that feels like this is what this is. Now, you bring up the best point that you bring up, and then I want to get into the Cubs schedule, is that making the team isn't performing, you know. So let's see if Cam Smith can do that. He's a great guy. And I wish him nothing but the absolute best as he makes it with the Astros. But I'm going to tell you, that's a little nerve-wracking.
Okay, but another point we got to make here: spring training is fake.
That's
okay?
Right.
I mean, maybe the last 10 games where they're trying to get tuned up for the season, where the hitters are really trying to focus. But those first 15 games, I mean, it's a scrimmage that they sell tickets to. I mean, and the Better Business Bureau should be called.
No, I'm with you. All right, let's move on to this Cubs 59 game schedule. It's brutal. We already had 2 games with the Dodgers in Japan. I know game 2, some bad calls, some typical Cubs breaks, you know. But 0-2 start, and they'll get another chance to restart it against Arizona. I'm with you, man. This schedule, and you broke this thing down, it is not going to be easy.
Yeah, behind the scenes, guys. I mean, I emailed Mick and I'm like, look at this schedule. I mean, if you really look at it, the first 3 weeks are just a gauntlet, right? You're pretty much playing the Diamondbacks, the Padres, the Dodgers again. I mean, and then the Diamondbacks come back here, the Dodgers come back here as well. I mean, it's brutal, right? You've got the Padres 6 times. To me, the hope is after those first 3 weeks, we're around 500, and then we got that 8-game homestand against the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers and the Phillies, but there's a lot of off days in there. So there's going to be no issue about rest and, you know, bullpens and stuff like that. So that's really where I think the season really, you know, they're talking about, we have opening day on Thursday. We have the Sacramento opening day, and we got our home opener. To me, the real opening day is going to be April 18th against the Diamondbacks, where we really got to, like, that's where the season really is going to begin, where we can start to make a stand and show that, you know, we're for real. The weather will hopefully start warming up here in Chicago. So, like, I think that's really where the season is going to start. And it's crazy how the schedule plays out, because in the last 2 weeks before, like the end of that 59 games, we play Miami twice, we play the White Sox, we play the Reds, and then we play Colorado in there as well. That's where the team really has to, you know, kind of show what they're made of, right? They really, if those, you know, 15, those 21 games at the end, before the end of this 59 game schedule, if they're not winning, you know, they're not 14-4 or 13-5, you know, how good is this team? And that's where, you know, how does Jed hold on to his job if they're not looking that good, right? Like, is he going to have to pivot and say, oh, I'm going to, you know, stay the course, or am I going to, like, pivot to the young guys? Because if the young guys are looking pretty good, you know, in AAA, you can't bury them there. You can't just, like, let them sit there all season. They need major league reps if they're going to develop. So I just think I really think that the first 59 games of a season, this season, normally, you know, like, oh, okay, maybe I'll, you know, June, when things start warming up, you start to look and see where things are at. I think it's going to be a big fork in the road on where this team goes at the end, at that June 1st, at the end of that June 1st series against the Reds, because we're going to have to see where we're at. I mean, we got to look good against these teams, and take out a lot of old guys. You got a bunch of, like, 40, you know, Justin Turner's 40, Kyle Tucker's on this expiring deal. Let's say Kyle Tucker isn't, like, let's say he's having a great year, but the team's not good. You can't just eat it, right? Like, if you're not going to make the playoffs. And think about that. I mean, the Brewers lost all these guys. The Reds have a way lower payroll. I mean, they need to show that they're running away for this division, in my opinion, around that 59 game mark. And they got to add on, and they might have to do some really creative things. Like Dylan Cease's might be available, like other guys might be available. like, what are they going to do to try to really separate from the pack? Because it's not just about getting into October; it's about being able to win a series in October. But this new October format, I mean, that's great if you make it, but if you don't win any games in October, I mean, I don't even know. You might want to play the kids then and let them develop. If you're just going to lose in the first round.
Hey, look, if they're not, they're going to do the same thing they did last year. They didn't play the kids at all up until the end. I mean, they played Hollywood Pete, but because they needed him, because defensively he was really good. But I mean, like this front office, if they have to play the kids, they're done, and they know that. They're gonna try to, like, that 83-79 record is cosmetic, man. That's like, getting a nose job. Like they weren't above 500 team. They were above 500 at the end when no one cared anymore because the other teams were playing those young guys.
Yeah, and then think about the money they spent. They were in the tax. They've spent $235 million, and they're mediocre team. Now that happens to a lot of teams that try to overspend, don't spend wisely. So it's not like that crazy. But yeah, I think that's the big thing that think about it. If they're not looking good on June 2nd after that 59 game stretch, is Jed even going to have his job? And then if he does have his job, like, is he going to get if they're mediocre, if they're like 500-ish, it's like, what is is he going to be allowed to like add on? Those are the things that, like, I think it's March, right? You're not really thinking about, like, the average fan is probably not like, oh, they're excited about opening day, but are they thinking about April baseball? This year, it's big, right? The schedule's tough. They've got, every week it's going to come at you, and they're going to have to show that they're ready to go. Like by that mid-May, they on paper they have the hardest schedule in April and the easiest schedule in May. Good. So they got to really this is a huge first 2 months of the season, because I think you might see a drastically different roster in July if they're not good on June 2nd.
Well, but I'm telling you, they don't have that option. You're saying just to try to save, like, to win. You're saying like to.
Well, I think they may try a different path. I mean, say, hey, we might not win the division, but we want to show that these process can play, and then we just need 2 more years to see the master plan through. I think you could see that, right? And think of the teams that would want a Tucker, right? They may like sell out. They might do a Gleyber, like the opposite of a Gleyber Torres. Like somebody might give us their Gleyber Torres, for 1 year of Tucker. Yeah. Like the Phillies or something like that might do that. Or, the Cubs might say, you know what, we've got Tylen for another year, we got Boyd for another year. We'll flip that for 1 year of like a cease or something like that, so we can see if we can make a push, because again, trying to save their job, and then they can clear payroll for next year, which we know the ownership seems to like.
Yeah, well, we'll see, man. You know what? I like your optimism. I think that if they try to do that, then they're all fired. So I think they're going to ride they wouldn't trade Tucker. They're going to, like last year when they should have sold, they bought, and I just think they'll do the same thing. Like they've got like a 12% chance of making the playoffs, and they're not selling, they're buying, and then you trade that guy for Tucker. I hope Tucker has the type of year he's capable of having, because they need that. And then look, this is the best case scenario for this front office, is that he has a monster year and then the Cubs pay him. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, man, you guys got Cam Smith. He could turn into a pretty good player. You got Isak Paredes. He's an all-star, but he's okay. Like you're not that scared that he's going to be like the problem with Smith is that when people start saying this guy might be the next 60 home run guy, I don't know if they're right or not, but you trade away like Aaron Judge, or John, Mike Stanton's what he used to be called, Giancarlo Stanton. You trade away that type of a lineup changer in a 1 year rental, and you don't sign the guy. Then all of a sudden people are talking about you years from now, like Larry Himes, or people are like, man, this guy was terrible. And we didn't sign Greg Maddux. Oh, well, he told Greg that he didn't think he could win 20 games, and he didn't think, ask Greg about it, so, it's pretty funny. You just don't want to be that. All right, let's childhood. Yeah, like I was so pissed when they didn't sign Maddux.
Yeah, I think the whole thing with this, I think this trade was done out of necessity to prove to the ownership that he can get that, that they can get this extension. I mean, you got to look at it from. So like I have like debates with my friends and stuff like that, or like you see people and say, oh, they should just spend more, and it's like they have money, and I agree. we talked about this in the offseason. Like, if you're going to spend 220 or 230, you might as well spend 260, right?
That's what I think too.
What's the difference? Now their payroll's down to 200. It's the same as the Diamondback, which is crazy because we're a much bigger market. We should be at that 240 range. But if you're the owner and you're like, hey, Brewers are kicking our butt and they're spending way less. So, Jed, before you asked for another $40 million and want me to sign a $400 million 10-year deal for some player, beat the Brewers first, right? Beat the division first. Like, then I'll give you more money, right? Like, that's the thing I would do. If, I don't think that Jed's earned that kind of payroll or these long-term deals yet. I think he's got to prove that. And I'm sure, internally they're like, hey, it won't be like last time. It won't be just like a big, a big cliff at the end. It's going to be waves of talent coming through. And that's what he's been trying to do. And I think that's what he's still trying to prove. And I think he's had a little bit of a governor on that because of like the spending cuts and, in 20, 21 and 22. So really this is year 3. I mean, if you really think about it, of his tenure. So I think he's got to prove it, get that extension. And then the nerds in the front office can keep going with their master plan.
Yeah, right. People get on to me. I'm just telling you guys, from my 40 years of Cubs fandom and 20 years or whatever it's been of working in the organization, I'm just throwing my thoughts and perspective out there. And I don't mind being wrong, or sometimes I'm just telling you like kind of the facts and letting you decide. This trade is one of them. Right? This trade's one of them. Like, I want the Cubs to win the trade. It's just when I see Cam Smith make the team, I'm like, okay, we're betting. No one would have thought he'd have made the team. Now it's like, hey, what are we doing next?
A little bit of a pattern. They said Jeremy Pena was a stud too when they replaced Correa, when they lost Carlos Correa. So like,
right. It could be BS. Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, it's good PR for Houston. We already got a return on Tucker. He's an opening day guy. Let's see how good he is. And look at Jackson Holiday. I mean, he was number 1 prospect last year. I mean, he just destroyed minor league pitching. Like, so his numbers were like off the charts. And he's still trying to establish himself in the major league level. It's a totally different level of pitching. It's a totally different level of velocity. It's a different grind, in terms of how these guys play. The schedule's tougher, all that stuff, right? Let's just see. And he's coming from a major league pedigree, so he can't be surprised about anything. He was in the clubhouse when he was walking around as a little kid. So, done
that, man.
He's already done it. So I just think, I'm happy for Cam Smith. I like the trade for Tucker because this is for Jed. I mean, you have to look at it from Jed's perspective, right? He's not playing the 5-year game; he's playing the 1-year game. And sometimes, as a fan, it could hurt in the long run, but like I said, I'm not interested in any mediocre finishes this year. I'm not interested in sneaking into the playoffs. I want to get in. I want tight games. I want stress in September and October, and I want to make sure we have a chance to win some of these October baseball games. I want a loaded up bullpen. I want a meat of the order that scares people, and I want to shock the world like in October again. That's what we live for, right? As Super Cup fans.
None of that feels like this team, though. It's just like this old.
It's not there yet. It's definitely not there yet. Like
the lineup doesn't scare you. I mean, like I'm looking at the Dodgers' backup lineup without Betts and Freeman, and I'm like, they're still way better than us. And then,
that's the thing. But see, that's the greatest.
Got to step up, man. That's the guy. Like, you paid him to be a star. Once every game, watch him. When he hits, the lineup is way
longer.
Better.
Right? It's longer. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, the guys that they got, like the Happ, Swanson, these guys, like, they got to be better. I'm excited, though, because there's a lot of unknowns, right? PCA, and I don't, like, Cup fans that are watching, don't judge everything on the first, 2 weeks of the season, right? Those first 2 weeks, they're rested arms, rested bullpens. These guys are in their spring training mode, in the first few weeks. But if PCA and Shaw are legit, if Amaya's league average or above, and like I said, if Nico, Swanson, and Happ are just like 5 to 8% better than they normally are, we have a much different team. Yeah, they might not match up to the Phillies or the Padres or the Dodgers early in the season, but they should be. Like, if you look through that schedule we're talking about, and you're like, oh, how do we match up against Pittsburgh? How do we match up against Milwaukee? How do we match up against the Mets? Our pitching staff's way better. Our lineup's comparable to a lot of these teams. Yeah, like Tucker's now is an anchor, right? And now Seiya's got like a Batman Robin situation going there. So like, there's a lot of things to be excited about. We just have to see how it plays out, because you literally have to write other than a few guys on this roster, you have to write everyone's projections in pencil, because you don't know, you cannot put anything in pen right now because you don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, you don't know how good they're going to be, because there's a lot of, like, these are second-year guys.
This ain't the World Series team.
Not yet.
No, and I look, maybe they are, and we don't know it. Like, subscribe. We're brought to you by DraftKings. Use the promo code CBC. We got college basketball cranking up again, the Sweet 16, and we got Major League Baseball right around the corner. We appreciate them for being part of the show. We appreciate Niran for jumping on with us as well. Get in the comments section, argue with us, or team up with us. However, but we appreciate all of you guys for being on here, no matter where you're at. Cubs fans worldwide, and thank you, and go Cubs.